Have you ever written something and just thought, why is this so bad? And no matter what you do, it just feels like it's not quite right. That's kind of how I felt about the beginning of my novel. I was working through draft 4 and it just seemed like in the beginning there was something missing, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. When I was listening to Brandon Sanderson's lectures, he was talking about prologues and whether or not you should use a prologue, because prologues are a little bit cliche, right? Like every book you read has a prologue. So Brandon Sanderson said that you should really consider whether or not your book actually needs a prologue. And he talked about the different promises you make with your book. And one of the promises is a tone promise. And so my book shifts tones really dramatically right around the midpoint. So I decided to add a prologue. Even then, the beginning still felt like something was missing. I was very blessed that one of my coworkers actually read my story. I've shared it with several people now, and you always get someone who's like, yeah, I'll read it. That sounds so cool. And then they don't read it. And I think that's 95% of people. So when you find that one person who's actually willing to read it, it's like a diamond in the rough. Like you just want to bow down before them and kiss the ground they walk on, because you're just like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And she read at the beginning really, really slowly. And I wasn't really thinking too hard about it, but then she gets to the point right in the middle when things shift. And all of a sudden she was done reading the book. And I was like, whoa, like you read all of that in like one night. And arguably most of the word count is probably in that latter half. My book is 121,000 words right now. And some of that is from the new beginning, which I'm really excited to get to. You're never going to believe how many words I actually added to the beginning just by writing out a new beginning. But I knew after she read it that something in the beginning had to change. I'm a discovery writer at heart. I really hate sitting down and planning things out. And when I realized that there were so many issues with the beginning, I decided I needed to do some planning. And actually, I recently kind of called myself out in one of the videos I did. I'll have it linked up on the screen. But I started talking about like basic plot structure, and I realized that I ignored the inciting incident in my novel. And that was really what the problem was. So today I actually got ready for my writing session by steeping some peppermint tea in milk in the morning. At the time of filming this, I'm in the middle of my luteal phase and focus is really hard to come by. It's so easy to get distracted right now. And so I really wanted an option for tea that I could drink in the evening that didn't have caffeine so that I could get to sleep at night, but would still give me the focus that I needed in order to really grind and plan everything out. This was my first time trying this tea to help me focus, so I'm excited to see whether or not it does actually improve focus and if it causes bloating or not, because it is steeped in milk, which you're supposed to avoid dairy when you're on your luteal phase. I've recently kind of struggled trying to quit coffee. I actually quit coffee last year in 2025, and I stayed clean. I stayed clean from coffee for about 11 months, and then it was Christmas. There was a lot going on. It was really stressful, and so I started drinking coffee again, and I've had a much harder time quitting the second time. So I started thinking about how I quit coffee the first time. And the first time I quit coffee, I actually made like hot chocolate because my husband still drinks coffee. So I need to do something when he has coffee so that I can have something fun to drink. So when I found this peppermint tea milk recipe, I was like, ooh, I can have that in the evening and it'll help me focus and try something new. And so we're going to leave this tea to steep in the fridge and go and do some planning. Now, I do a lot of my planning on paper. It helps me focus. I remember when I was writing, I think we all have that one novel that's just like our first love that we're all sworn that we're going to finish someday, and I'm not actually working on that novel right now. My husband recommended that I started a new novel to try to break out of my writer's block from the first novel, and it has actually really helped, but now I feel like I'm sort of committed to writing a 6-book series, and I'm like, I wonder when I'm actually going to get to the hottest hero alive and actually write his story. But when I was writing that novel, I was actually attending college, and I wrote most of that novel while listening to my teachers give lectures. And you might be like, how did you actually learn anything in college? But ADHD is wonderful, and I actually was able to learn more when I was doing something, whether writing or drawing a picture, and that's how I've sort of always done things. Analog tools really help me to focus and to actually finish things. The only problem is that over time I've had a lot of trouble with disorganization. Going back to my novel I was just talking about, I have no idea where things are in relation to other things. I know that I have the whole book in, across like 4 different composition notebooks, but I don't know which composition notebook goes where. And then I started, like, some pages have Japanese notes and then the next page jumps off from somewhere totally different in the story. And I'm like, what were you doing, Kayetta? So I guess that's where ADHD doesn't help you. But ultimately, the main reason I like using analog tools is because it helps me enjoy the process. I really love writing. It's made me so happy. I've been writing since 2nd grade, and I think it's really important to pursue your dreams, and just, if you want to write a book, you need to go for it, because that's where I get joy for things. And since I was so disorganized previously, I've started really streamlining the process. So I have everything all in one composition notebook, and I have it organized by topic and then subtopics so that it's a lot easier to find things. And then I keep the actual book in a Google Doc because I don't have Word. It just seems a little excessive to go and purchase a subscription to Microsoft Word when I can just edit it for free in Google Docs. It's so helpful. I can take it everywhere. I can type it out on my phone. Plus, it's a lot easier to share with people. I can just add them as a commenter, and that's how people read it. It's so simple. Now, since the story was missing the inciting incident, and I talked to my husband about what an inciting incident was and tried to get some ideas from him, and I came up with the perfect inciting incident. I absolutely loved it because it sort of cut Hyacinth off from the known world that she already had established. And in my original draft, I thought I had established the known world, but I really hadn't. I was just using a curiosity hook that wasn't really working. I was trying to be like, ooh, what's this mystery about Hyacinth? But I kind of discovered that the story is more interesting if the reader actually knows it already. And so after kind of coming up with that inciting incident, I realized I really needed to fix the exposition. I've been reading Crescent City recently, and it's so funny. I've been writing this book, and I was like, oh, this angle is so unique and no one else is going to use it. And oh, I haven't seen this inciting incident done in a while. And then I was like, Sarah J. Maas sort of used this as her inciting incident in Crescent City. That's gonna make it look like I copied that. I've got my magic system is like based on music, and I was like, oh, this is so unique and no one's ever done anything like this. And then I was playing Wuthering Waves, and I'm like, oh, this is all a step. This works like basically the same way. It's a little different in Wuthering Waves, but I thought that my magic system was more unique than it actually was. So if you kind of struggle with this, or you're worried that your tropes are too predictable or that your tropes are too overdone, the thing that really makes a story unique is your voice as an author. Every author puts a piece of them into the story, and even if you're trying not to, that act of trying not to is in itself you putting a piece of yourself into the story, and that's how the story gets soul. I know when I write, the thing that stands out to me the most is my love of nature. All of my stories tend to have this theme of trying to work together with nature, and so I often write these really detailed scenes about the natural world. And going back to Crescent City, though, I realized that my writing has a lot of room to mature. It really humbled me to read it. I mean, I knew my writing wasn't like professional level yet, but I'm really seeing things that Sarah J. Maas does in her writing that give me the opportunity to make my writing so much better. So as I've been editing, I guess you could kind of call this the 6th draft. I don't know, because I added the beginning because I wrote out the new exposition, but I didn't edit anything else. So I don't know if that really counts as doing a complete draft. Maybe I'm still on the 5th draft. I don't know. Oh, and I also added another character, but that's more than I can get into today in today's vlog. So as I'm going through draft 5 or 6, whichever one you want to call it, maybe let me know in the comments what you think. But as I'm writing it, I'm trying to add some of these techniques that I'm seeing in Sarah J. Maas's writing, and I actually love it. Like, Alexi's character has gotten so much better. I changed the perspective, which the story sorely needed. So it used to be first person perspective, but now it's third person limited narrator, which is what Sarah J. Maas uses in Crescent City. And you see split perspectives in a lot of romantasy writing. So I sort of explored that, and I think the real strength there is that you're able to see what the love interests are thinking. So when it comes to actually writing your book, some of the biggest things that you need to consider are you cannot be a writer unless you read. Reading is how you study the people who have done this before. You know, every great artist, every great creative has looked to someone else for inspiration. I'd love to hear what you're reading in the comments. I usually read one book at a time, and right now I'm kind of jumping back and forth between nonfiction and fiction to sort of break it up, because I got 4 different, how to write different styles of writing books. I'm reading one, and then I'm reading a fiction novel to sort of break it up and make it so that it's not kind of like I'm just reading the same thing 4 books in a row, because that'll probably make me a little bit burnt out. Ultimately, it's already making my writing better, so it can make your writing better too. And as I'm working on the 5th or 6th novel, I'm kind of worried because I've set a personal deadline. I want to publish this by July. I don't feel like I'm anywhere close. I write 1,000 words a day, and now I'm considering writing 2,000 words a day because I just don't feel like I'm gonna get there in time. I watched a lot of personal development content last year, and one of the biggest things I kept hearing was, if you can't keep promises to yourself, then how can you keep promises to anyone else? But now I'm this is a huge undertaking. I still have a lot of work to do, and I am a wife and a twin mom. I don't have a lot of time every day to work on my book. I try to find as many little opportunities to write as I possibly can. I'll dictate to my phone when I'm doing the dishes, but I'm really anxious about whether or not I'm going to meet my deadline. Also, this peppermint tea was fantastic. It really helped me to wake up, but it did it in a kind of really subtle way. I didn't realize that I was focused until I was done writing, and I was like, oh, I got 2,000 words in. I got twice as many as I thought I was going to get. And at least when I had it in the evening, it didn't cause me any kind of bloating, which I was kind of worried about because it's a milk tea. But then I made it in an afternoon and it did. So I think the case is still open on whether or not this is good during the luteal phase, but it absolutely helped me with focus, which is what I wanted it to help me with. And I was so shocked by how many words the new exposition ended up being. It was insane. I honestly didn't think I was going to add as many words as I did. It ended up being basically 16,000 words. I did not think I was going to add that much in the exposition. And the other crazy thing about this is that the exposition actually ended where the previous story began, basically. I, at most, probably cut out 1,000 words. All of that contributed to the word count. I don't really stress about word count. Maybe I should care about it a little bit more than I actually do. I think the book is going to be however long the book is going to be in order to be good. And that's just the way that I look at it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week.